This is great. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm assuming everyone in here is interested in community engaged learning. Has anyone implemented community engaged learning in their own coursework? Great. Okay, maybe wanting to learn about how. So hopefully you'll get something out of this presentation today. Am I okay to start? Okay. Okay, wonderful. So I'm Jennifer Lightfoot. I'm here from the University of British Columbia. This is my colleague, Daniel Riccardi. I have the mic at the moment, so that means I've got the power. But Dan, please chime in whenever I've missed something that we're supposed to say. So welcome everyone. Today we're going to talk about engaging or integrating community engaged learning initiatives into our academic English classrooms, hopefully providing an opportunity for students to grow as language learners as well as global citizens. So a few things that we'd like to share with you today. First of all, an overview about what community engaged learning actually is and the potential benefits for our students, how we have actually implemented community engaged learning initiatives within our EAP courses, some perspectives from students based on some focus group interviews that we conducted, looking at the linguistic benefits but also challenges that this can present for our students. And we will present what we hope to be, or we believe to be, is a project that can be transferred and implemented in multiple contexts. And if you're interested in learning more about that, please give us a shout afterwards. And our reflections as project leads. So what is community engaged learning? So it's a form of experiential education where students apply, engage, and further their education throughout community involvement. So it moves beyond the classroom, trying to apply the skills and knowledge that these students have learned within the community. And these are often interdisciplinary and hands-on. These opportunities connect classroom learning to help solve real-world issues within the community. And these opportunities can be quite low in terms of time commitment. So for example, we've had other instructors, as well as ourselves, just have students complete a letter of advocacy, where they write a letter advocating for something that they believe in to a local politician. Or it can be much deeper or longer time commitments, maybe a couple of hours to a day or even a few days, or sometimes even an entire term can be dedicated to community engaged learning. So why do we do this? What are some of the benefits for community engaged learning? Well, it offers students an opportunity to apply course learning to authentic contexts, and applying course concepts to help develop solutions to social and environmental issues. We find students in universities are often learning about all of these very critical and important, heart-wrenching social and environmental issues throughout the world, and that can sometimes lead to this feeling of helplessness. And so we've found that community engaged learning can help them have a bit of an outlet to see how they can try and apply their skills to create solutions to these issues. It allows students to move beyond the classroom in order to practice their skills in an authentic setting, particularly communication skills for our EAP classes, but also those disciplinary skills that they are learning about in their content courses. And build new and hopefully transferable resume boosting skills that can then help boost their resumes, maybe help them get a part-time job, and engage further within these communities. It also provides opportunities for networking, learning about different possibilities within the community, I don't know about you, but when I was starting out in university, I had a very sheltered view about what types of positions were actually out there in the world. And so this type of community engagement can provide some opportunities for students to see what positions actually are in the community and allow students to connect outside of the classroom and build their own communities outside of that campus bubble that is usually all-consuming for students. And a chance to give back to the community and a chance to make a positive change on the world. So we're very fortunate at UBC. We have an entire center dedicated to community engaged learning, and that's where this project initiated. So yeah, we were very fortunate to be able to work with them. They're a center that is student-focused on providing students opportunities to engage within the community, but they also work very closely with instructors who are interested in course-embedded community-engaged learning provided to students at the university. And so we were part of a UBC-funded project with the Center for Community Engaged Learning, and it was titled Expanding Community Engaged Learning Opportunities Across First-Year Cohort-Based Programs. And so they basically thought, you know, we know all of these wonderful benefits of community engaged learning. We know that we have interest from students. We also have interest from faculty, but the development and integration of community engaged learning into the classroom takes a lot of time and can sometimes be a bit daunting for instructors who don't know much about community engaged learning. And so they thought at the center, you know, they have all of these wonderful resources and people who know a lot about the implementation of community engaged learning. And so they thought, why don't we build a small cohort of faculty, and we were paired with a CEL, or Community Engaged Learning faculty fellow, who was basically like our research assistant in helping us develop and implement community engaged learning into our class. And so it was helping to build faculty knowledge and confidence in developing these community engaged learning opportunities in first-year cohort programs. And it was a sustainable resource support. So we had these community engaged learning TA fellows who were mentored by staff at the Center for Community Engaged Learning, and they were supporting us, new practitioners of community engaged learning, in exploring this innovative pedagogical method in our classrooms. So a little bit about what this looks like for us. So like I said, we're at the University of British Columbia, but we are in one specific program with international students who use English as an additional language. So if you're not sure if you're familiar, but our program is called the Vantage One or Vantage College at UBC. And so this is a little bit about what it looks like. So our Vantage students are part of a first-year credit-bearing program which integrates academic literacy and language support alongside their disciplinary courses in their first year of study. So they come to UBC Vancouver. They're in our Vantage One program in their first year of studies. They take academic English courses alongside their disciplinary courses in first year. And then, provided that they pass all of those courses, they then move into their degree program for years 2, 3, and 4. And then they graduate from UBC. We have a couple of different stream options. So arts, science, or engineering. If they're in the engineering program, then after year 1, they would go to our Okanagan campus, which is also in BC, just not in Vancouver. So a little bit about what this program looks like for our first year students. So In term 1, they're taking political science, psychology, and sociology. Excuse me. This is for the arts program specifically. So alongside those content courses, they would also be taking some language courses. And so Daniel and I both teach LLED 200, which is an academic writing course, and VANT 140, which is a course that focuses on language in these specific disciplines, and we're paired with these content instructors. And so this project was between the sociology instructor and us in our VANT 140 class, looking at the language within these disciplines. And so it's this embedded literacy support. So our EAP instructors work closely with content instructors, close collaboration in order to gain the literacy practices common to the discipline and see how those fit within our course expectations. We try to advise content instructors on ways in which they can integrate a focus on language in assignments or in lectures, and then we deliver course content that supports students' acquisition of these academic literacies related to the discipline. And so within our program, we know that there are some benefits specifically for our international students who use English as an additional language. First off, it allows students to learn about Vancouver and connect with the community beyond their Vantage cohort, which is something that our students in particular have voiced to us as a challenge for them within our Vantage program, because it is a sheltered program that they're taking just with the students that are in their cohort. And so sometimes they feel like they can be a little bit isolated from the rest of the UBC community. And so we thought this, and they're also, their course load is quite heavy, as you saw. So they don't have a lot of time to explore the different types of opportunities that may be available within Vancouver. And so we thought this could be an opportunity for them to engage with other UBC students as well as people within the community. And it's particularly beneficial for EAP language classrooms because it is enhancing the linguistic and communicative competence of language learners and advancing the intercultural competence that is necessary for global citizens to engage with a diverse world, now more important than ever. So we'll run through some of the projects that we put together over the past couple of years, just to give you a little bit of a glimpse into what these community engaged learning opportunities can look like for students. And if you have any questions, please just let us know. Dan, have I missed anything so far? No? Okay. So we're going to take a look at these different project opportunities. These are various levels of engagement opportunities that we provided to students. So you'll see some opportunities that were 3 days of time commitment and sometimes just a couple hours. So first of all, our collaboration with the sociology instructor. She provided students an opportunity for them to go into elementary school classrooms, so grades K to 8. So our students went into these elementary school classrooms over their reading week break, which is 1 week in February. So they took 3 days and they went into a classroom. The teacher had to apply to be part of this program, and it was essentially for elementary school teachers who had a project in mind that they would like to complete, but they didn't have enough hands-on support within the classroom in order to complete that project. And so they applied, and this is where the Center for Community Engaged Learning was really beneficial because they already had all of these resources set up for us. So this was part of the Center for Community Engaged Learning at UBC, and the sociology instructor that we were paired with thought this is a great initiative. We're going to offer this to our students. And so we did a joint assignment with her. She asked students to produce a community engaged learning experience reflective essay. And we then, in our academic language courses, we focused on the stages of a critical reflective essay with comparison and contrast writing to demonstrate their understanding of community before and after the placement. This wasn't expected of all students. It was only students who really wanted to be part of this community engaged learning opportunity. Because of course, it was three days of time commitment on their reading week break. She couldn't, expect students to engage in this. So this was an optional assignment that then replaced a longer essay that if you didn't complete the placement, then you had to complete the research paper, basically. We also thought that we wanted to have a community engaged learning initiative within our academic English courses as well. And this is where this community engaged learning fellow was absolutely incredible because she helped us find all of these institutions or these organizations that were willing to have volunteers and organized all of that for us. So being part of this UBC funded project was really beneficial for us and time-saving in a lot of ways. Dan and I chose food sustainability as one topic that we wanted to jump into because of, we're interested in this topic, but because we're paired with 3 arts disciplinary courses, we thought that food sustainability was a really great topic that we could use with different disciplinary lenses. So thinking about food sustainability from the topic of sociology, psychology, and political science, we can look at this topic from all of those different disciplinary aspects. We also knew that we were moving into the science stream, and we thought that this would also be a nice transferable topic into the sciences. So a little bit about our community partners and our projects. So these were all of the one-day placements that we offered to students as part of our community engaged learning initiative. So the first option was Village Vancouver Community Garden, and students could go on a Saturday to go and volunteer with this community garden, and it's basically a space in the community where anyone can come and garden. And yeah, it just gave students a bit of an opportunity to get their hands dirty. A lot of our students had never gardened before, and so that was a really interesting experience for them. Our second option was an organization called Food Stash, which is an organization in Vancouver that helps build provide food from grocery stores and other organizations that have donated food and build baskets of food for those in need. And so our students were volunteering, helping to build those baskets for people within the community. And then finally, the third option was to go to a farmer's market, being paired with Food Stash, and basically promote awareness of food sustainability and collect those donations that would then be used for the food baskets. And so students had their choice of these 3 community engaged learning initiatives if they wanted to participate in a one-day volunteer experience. But we know that not all students would be so keen to spend their Saturday at one of these institutions or at one of these organizations. So as an alternative, we decided that they could do a class visit to the UBC farm. And we're very fortunate to have a farm on our campus, and within walking distance from our classes. So for those students who, thank you, for those students who were who volunteered their time off campus for one day, they didn't have to come to the UBC farm tour, because we realized, that's a lot of time commitment to spend your entire Saturday volunteering off campus. So if you don't want to come to the UBC farm tour, that's fine. But we found that most students, they're quite keen if they're signing up for these volunteer experiences. And so they wanted to come for the class visit to the UBC farm anyways. So we went to the UBC farm. Our classes are typically 2 hours in length. So it took about 20 minutes to walk to the UBC farm. We had about an hour tour, and then 20 minutes back to our campus. We stopped at different research projects and production field areas. This was a guided tour provided by the UBC farm, learning about the community programming and learning about topics such as biodiversity, urban and rural relations, organic practices, and indigenous ways of knowing in education. This was as I said, the lowest level of community engaged learning in terms of the time commitment. And then the written projects that were associated with this community engaged learning was before volunteering at any of the community organizations, including the elementary schools for the sociology class, we had students submit applications. And so in our academic English classes, we provided some classes on resume writing and cover letter writing, and then we expected students to basically submit their application if they wanted to volunteer. And then after they volunteered, or after their visit to the UBC farm, so everyone had a chance to engage in community engaged learning. Everyone then, for our academic English class, completed a community engaged learning reflective essay. So a little bit about our student perspectives. So what happened in our focus groups? So we noticed some communication challenges and barriers. First of all, thinking about the language barriers. So we have 3 main barriers. The first one was language barriers. Obviously, there's going to be some communication difficulties there. People speaking quite quickly. Our students said, sometimes I just couldn't understand what was being said. And the second type of communication barrier was actually subject knowledge. So we realized, asking students to engage in topics of food sustainability, they might not actually have all of the content knowledge necessary to engage in a lot of these topics, right? So someone said, it's a little bit difficult to talk about nutrition, and there are a lot of professional words that I don't know in English. And the third barrier was a social barrier. And so one student said, well, I'll give you a minute to read it. So that cultural difference can often be a barrier for communication as well. And a lot of our students mentioned this cultural barrier as one of the most difficult barriers to break through. And so these barriers can lower our students' confidence. And so someone said, I feel bad because I didn't really speak a lot. I felt very shy, and I didn't have the encourage, or I didn't have the confidence to speak. Feel less confident to interact with them. If they were just a Vantage student or one of our Pathway students, I feel more comfortable interacting with them because I know that they're on the same level as me. Some students just want to stay within their comfort zones. And so we found a lot of students in these focus groups saying, you know, sometimes I shut down, you know, these barriers caused me to be too afraid to speak in these contexts. But then we found that students were able to break through the barriers. And so there were lots of different stories that students would share with us about how they were in these situations where they were forced to communicate with someone, and you know, there was no turning back. And so when they were forced to communicate with someone, they realized, oh, okay, I have to actually do this. I'm going to just try my best. And then they realized, you know, I am making mistakes, but I'm still communicating, and that's okay. You know, no one really cares about my mistakes, is what someone said. So that's quite nice. So this was an example of a student who was in the elementary schools. They were asked to read with a student, and our pathway student thought, oh, this is great. Someone's just going to, you know, read, and I'm just going to be here, you know, as a support guidance with her. And the student said, no, you're going to read to me. And and she actually felt really happy. So when she corrected me, even though I made some mistakes, it felt like she was interacting with me and made me feel better. Someone else said that they were feeling very anxious before the experience. They were really frightened, but after this experience, they understood maybe people did not pay attention to my mistakes, like grammar mistakes or pronunciation mistakes. Like, not a lot of people really care about that, and it made me a little bit more confident in using English, which was great to hear. And they also noted linguistic learning opportunities, particularly trying to push themselves out of their comfort zones and seeing this as a really beneficial opportunity for them. So these opportunities push me to go out and explore and communicate with others. They have more opportunities to use English than typically what is used in the classroom, especially, you know, in those larger first-year classrooms that can have lots of students. Typically don't offer a lot of chances for open communication. And it also helped them learn about cultural differences and the community. So someone noted from the elementary school that, you know, they have quite different teaching methods in comparison to their own learning experience. They understood, or they, you know, looked at the perspective of, okay, these students are here in Canada, but sometimes, you know, they also have different issues that they're dealing with growing up in this country. And sometimes thinking about how they actually communicate with other people and thinking, oh, I need to maybe change that and think about, you know, how I can soften my language a bit and not be so direct in my communication style. So just some cultural differences there. And they also connected through the community and culture. So they built some community, or they connected to others within their culture. They saw that as a benefit, or as a way of connecting with other students. So someone said, you know, in the elementary schools, there were some Chinese students born in Canada, but when they saw me, they felt this curiosity to learn more about me, and they were, you know, speaking to them with different phrases in Chinese, and so that was, you know, particularly beneficial in terms of connecting through their culture, and also building community within UBC. So it gave them a chance to connect with each other within our program, but then also other UBC students across campus who were volunteering in these learning experiences as well. So we have some implications for future community engaged learning initiatives. So we really felt from going through these focus group studies that a supportive environment was necessary. And so it was only when they were in supportive environments did they feel that they could really, communicate freely in English and break down those communication barriers. And then it was also interesting to think about the time commitments of the community engaged learning opportunities. Some people said that 3 days are really tiring. Of course, 3 days is a long commitment, especially for these students who are communicating in their second language all 3 of those days. But then other people said, like when we asked them, did this improve your language? They said, it's only 3 days. It's hard to improve your language after only 3 days. So it's a little, back and forth there, thinking about the time commitment for these students. And students enjoyed interacting in these contexts and expressed a desire to learn more about daily communication skills, even in our academic English courses. Okay, am I up on time there?
We've got 8 minutes left.
Okay. So, yeah, maybe, leave some time for some questions. Does anyone have any questions?